What are you expecting in 2021? The other day, a cousin of mine posted an Instagram photo of her taking the vaccine. Now, though I was disappointed in the fact that she did, that wasn't the point that made me sad for her. It was the next part of her post when she shared her COVID-19 vaccination card from the CDC. That's what really bothered me. It was literally like a declaration of yeah, the system got me. It broke my heart. The way I see things is that so many people are sitting on this big bus the satanic world system has put them on, and they're just going for the ride towards a very bad ending. People are expecting things to get better as the world gets vaccinated. But if you watched my video on the Great Reset, you would know that the decision makers of the world know things will never go back to normal, and we are approaching a very big change. So while the Matrix keeps everyone blinded and in chains, trapped in their mental prison, I want to provide some real expectations that we should all have as we enter into 2021. People are so happy to know that we are ending 2020, believing that nothing could be worse than this year. But that is honestly just wishful thinking. 2021 looks to be a truly transitional year after they have used 2020 to set the stage for their scapegoats and narratives. There are so many things to pay attention to. This is not about fear, but awareness. The Matrix wants to keep you asleep and just follow them blindly off a spiritual cliff. But the thing is that if you live in reality and are awake, when things happen that seem unexpected to the rest of the world, you have given yourself the chance to be better prepared for it mentally, spiritually, and physically. This is the last video of 2020, so I want to use it to discuss some expectations we should have for the year 2021. Let's begin. Okay, so the first thing that should be understood is that COVID-19 is the great scapegoat of our time. It arguably is the biggest scapegoat in history, and it will not go away until they have used it completely as the reasoning for our transition. It is important to have the right expectations of what we are dealing with and what is upon the world, because if you don't fully understand what is upon us, you will fall right into the hands of those who don't have our best interests at heart. We are moving into this time where there will be a mass vaccination of the population. And while I do have views on this is not the video to explain all of it. What I want to explain is that 2021 looks to be like a year that you will have to begin to choose to be a part of this system in order to function in society. We can all get caught up in the day-to-day activities of how they're rolling things out, but that will not do us any good in the long run. It's best to start with the end in mind and then work our way to where we currently are at this point in time. What do I mean by this? Understand, one major agenda attached to COVID is that we will be led into having a contactless digital identity that deems us safe to transact through this system. Maybe for you, it wouldn't be surprising that in the United States, the states are working on giving us digital driver's licenses, so there's nothing physical or tangible to show people. Now, eventually, this agenda will lead to the complete beast system, but there are other things that need to transpire before that point. In 2021, it looks like they will implement the system that is the prelude or the introduction of the beast system. We should see all the structures of this new system being introduced without the full extent of its purposes being realized by the masses. They will use COVID as a scapegoat for this system to be implemented. It is of course our choice if we want to be a part of this system as it is rolled out, but I believe that we should all at least know what is being implemented and understand our risk. Like with me showing my family member receiving her own vaccination card, they are moving to verify that you are not a risk to everyone else. So they are implementing digital passes that everyone will have to register with that will do the legwork for the system. For venues like sporting events and concerts, retail businesses, and restaurants, you will see them implementing the use of the company Clear.
Whoa, what is that?
That's a dinosaur. That's a rotary phone. It's a hairy toy that spoke gibberish.
What's that?
This was called a wallet. It holds pieces of plastic to pay for things or to show your age or who you are.
But what if you lost it? Are you not you?
You're always you. With Clear, you are your ticket, your reservation, your credit card, and your ID.
Cool.
Enroll today at clearme.com.
This is how the company explains who they are on their website. The Clear vision has remained the same since day one. Through our secure ID platform, Clear is changing how people live and work, creating a more secure, connected world. We transform your eyes and face into a touchless ID, allowing you to quickly and securely confirm your identity, unlocking frictionless experiences across the physical and digital world. They show a little about this in their company video.
HealthPass securely links definitive identity and health, making everyday experiences safer for all. Meet Jane. She's eager to cheer on her favorite team at the stadium, get back to her favorite restaurant, and even get back to the office. HealthPass is the solution for your business to allow safer access, while providing Jane the confidence to get moving. Jane downloads the Clear app for free and enrolls in a few quick steps from the comfort of her home. Jane adds an ID like a driver's license or passport, snaps a selfie, and confirms she's a real person in a flash. With the ability to link to health providers and lab results, as well as tickets, reservations, and building access cards, Clear Health Pass is what Jane needs to move through the world, making her unstoppable. Jane is now ready to enter any participating venue with Clear Health Pass. Here's how. Jane opens the Clear app and verifies her identity with a photo and real-time health insights. Clear's developed touchless technology can take her temperature and confirm Jane is Jane, so she can walk in with confidence. And because Clear is platform agnostic, scalable, and easily integrated, Clear Health Pass can generate a QR code to scan on your existing hardware to keep Jane and the rest of your customers moving. And best of all, as the trusted leader in biometric identity and access for over 10 years, you and your customers will rest easy knowing their privacy is protected and their data is safe and secure. Always. Clear Health Pass, giving you and your customers the confidence to move forward.
You may have seen this being used in the airports as well. They have used this company since 9/11 with the stated purpose to prevent terrorism and protect travelers. But they are now picking it up a whole notch and have added another layer to this with what they call a health pass. And with this health pass that is linked to your biometrics, they now link your health provider info and your lab test results, like your COVID test, to your digital ID, giving you an all clear to move throughout society because you are clear, identified, and able to be tracked. And rest assured that obviously the plan is to tie your proof of vaccination to this as well. It's a complete system that is a total rollout of conditioning for this massive beast system. This is not something that is the future, but something that is already here and is being rolled out quietly.
Resorts just out with a new safety plan to bring back business meetings and conventions. Additionally, customers who come back can opt to add on Clear's Health Pass, offered by the same biometric company that helps clear passengers through airport security. For attendees, that means setting up an app for real-time health questionnaires, that you would get a rapid COVID test at arrival that comes back in 20 minutes, and temperature checks through the Clear kiosk. Now, Clear was successfully implemented in the National Hockey League's bubble in Canada. But if you would opt to do that, it would give another layer of health security to the event that you're planning. And we could see this deployed not just for conventions and conferences, but think about concerts. We could see this coming into play, or these sports arenas. How do you pack people back into the new Allegiant Stadium? It was supposed to open in September. It's still closed. You may do it with this sort of health passport that helps people get back in and know that they're not infectious. Jim Murrin, he's been at the ground floor trying to break open new ways to kind of give a digital vaccine for these group businesses.
Because everybody's so addicted to apps and their phones, they make it seem as if it's no big deal. It's just a new digital layer of protection to prevent the spread of COVID. But yet you are entering into a completely digital layer of control that has never been used before. Clear is being used in the United States. But in countries all around the world, there are similar apps that go by different names with the same purposes. Now, being that we're in the beginning stages, I believe this is how they will roll things out initially to warm people up to all this and condition people into this complete digital new world. But eventually, it will all go through one company or organization, or more than likely the coming world government, rather than many separate companies depending on your country or region. And this next example is proof of that theory. Here is Common Pass. Common Pass is another one that they are planning to use that has not been implemented yet. On their website, they say, the Commons Project, the World Economic Forum, and a broad coalition of public and private partners are collaborating to launch Common Pass, a trusted globally interoperable platform for people to document their COVID-19 status, health declarations, PCR tests, vaccinations, to satisfy country entry requirements, while protecting their health data privacy. Understand, this is an initiative that has been pioneered through the World Economic Forum, which, like I showed in my video about the Great Reset, they are all about transitioning us into this new world order. And COVID is a primary driver for the massive change that is being implemented to the world. Let's listen to what Common Pass has to say about this.
Common Pass is a platform that lets people safely and securely collect their health information, whether it is a negative COVID test result or eventually a record of a COVID vaccination, manage that information, control it themselves, and then be able to let that information be used to demonstrate that they have had a negative test or they have been vaccinated so they can get on an airplane or travel to another country. For countries, it gives them the ability to actually know confidently that this person who wants to come visit them can actually safely be admitted into their country without risk of exposing other people in the country to COVID.
Okay, I think you should get the point. In 2020, they have laid the foundation for the massive change that will come to this world. Because of fear, they are able to lay a foundation of control that is accepted by a majority of the world. I mean, it's no secret to us all that we all are being monitored and tracked. Facial recognition being used everywhere we go. That's not a secret to the majority. What many aren't realizing that may use this rationalization is that we normally don't know who is using this technology, along with the whys and hows. But now we are moving from governments and private companies engaging in this tracking activity without our knowledge, to now we are volunteering this information that is tied with a lot more detail about ourselves, like our health status. We're giving the system more controlled consent than they ever had before. Even without any other circumstances like war or economic collapse, we see that in 2021, we will be transitioning totally into new digital lives. This will be something that people just adapt to, and there will not be much pushback as this goes more mainstream. And more people will be provoked into accepting the system because they are on a full court press with fear. They are now saying there is a new strain out and is now affecting children, which will most likely lead to children being vaccinated as well. They are saying that we are moving into a dark, deadly winter that will make people even more fearful as more cases and deaths are reported. We are moving in a world that is being controlled by fear, and because of the fear, people are willing to give up a sense of privacy for a sense of more protection and security.
Hydra created a world so chaotic that humanity is finally ready to sacrifice its freedom to gain its security. Once the purification process is complete, Hydra's new world order will arise.
So in the end, if I was giving a summary of COVID, I would say that this is a huge part of its endgame agenda. To be the scapegoat and driver for a complete digital world transformation of how people move and interact with society. And through these passes, everything will be digitally tracked and monitored. But there's more. If you watch many of my videos that have spoken about the financial collapse, I allude to the fact that we are not far from it. I don't know how to speak more urgently that everyone needs to prepare for an economic collapse. If we were in times where common sense was used more than reliance upon the media, all the warning signs will be screaming out to the masses. Fed Chair Jay Powell last week just said that the Fed is committed to 0% interest rates until the year 2023. That's about 15 years of almost 0% interest. Now yes, they did raise it gradually over 2% over a few years. But either way, during this 15 years, it's been an extremely low interest rate environment that has no signs of changing. Basically, the world is not able to function without cheap money, and they have said this will continue for another 2 or 3 years. And then on top of that, we see that Congress passed its budget to keep the government going while they passed a stimulus relief bill. And President Trump is actually asking for more money for the people. It's crazy. They will print $900 billion out of thin air just towards coronavirus relief. And with this, they devalue the dollar once again. The dollar index is continuously dropping. If you're paying attention, the value of the dollar is depreciating and the cost of goods is going up. The stock market is still reaching all-time highs, while lockdowns are occurring and people are still unemployed. We can't time when the economic bubble will pop, because they're obviously keeping it afloat for a specific time that is known to only those at the top. But every action they are taking is about destroying the world economy, and that will be catapulted by the destruction and collapse of the United States dollar. We can see that this dollar collapse is escalating just by reviewing what is going on with the price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. In another video, I explained that we are moving to digital currencies, and this reality is still very prevalent. The price of Bitcoin going above 20K is not really a story about cryptocurrencies, more than it is a story about fiat currencies like the dollar losing its value. We are moving to a new form of payment and a new storage of value. In the stimulus/budget bill Congress passed, there was a number of different items that directly went to the conditioning of the United States into socialism. They extended the relief for renters who were facing eviction on January 1st of this new year. This has the government paying rent for millions. They provided more unemployment payments to those out of work. They provided money to the entertainment venues that have lost more than 25% of their revenue. They are providing for airline employees. Bottom line, they are passing out money, and those affected are gladly accepting. Please understand that I am not speaking against those that are in need. I know it's rough out there. What I am saying is that the government's answer is literally printing the money out of thin air. And while they're doing this, they're creating a dependency on the government to be all things for all of its citizens. As we move into this new world, already transitioning into new digital controls, an economic collapse of the world will provide more urgency into moving into these new systems. And as people are conditioned to receive benefits from the government, if the government has certain requirements they need met in order for people to receive these payments, then you will see people herded into these new controls. For example, it wasn't that long ago they were talking about tying the stimulus money to getting the vaccine. Now, an economic collapse is, like I've been saying, imminent. There is nothing good about our economic situation. Senator Rand Paul, complaining about the stimulus bill, said this:
"The idea that government can print money with impunity, that government can spend whatever it wants without the need to tax. The monster spending bill presented today is not just a deficits don't matter disaster, it is everything Republicans say they don't believe in. If free money were the answer, if money really grew on trees, why not give more free money? Why not give it out all the time? Why stop at $600 a person? Why not $1,000? Why not $2,000? Maybe these new free money Republicans should join the Everybody Gets a Guaranteed Income caucus. Why not $20,000 a year for everybody? Why not $30,000? If we can print up money with impunity, why not do it? The Treasury can just keep printing the money. That is, until someone points out that the emperor has no clothes and that the dollar no longer has value. How bad is our fiscal situation? Well, the federal government brought in $3.3 trillion last year and spent $6.6 trillion. The deficit last year, a record-busting $3.3 trillion. The deficit doubling and tripling. Under George Bush, it went from $5 trillion to $10 trillion. Under President Obama, it went from 10 to 20 trillion. We're now at 27 trillion, but we're adding it at $1 trillion a year before we get to this COVID budget-busting bailout. We're $27 trillion in debt today.
I agree with those statements. I mean, the government brought in $3.3 trillion in revenue, but spent $6.6 trillion. Those numbers by themselves are telling and symbolic. But either way, the government spent double what it brought in, and they are looking to do it again. On Tuesday, Joe Biden warned the darkest days of the coronavirus pandemic were still to come, and called on Congress to be ready early next year to produce another stimulus package, even though the most recent one took months to complete. He said, "Our darkest days in the battle against COVID are ahead of us, not behind us. Congress did its job this week, and I can, and I must, ask them to do it again next year." So when you put it all together, with 0% interest rates projected for 2 to 3 more years, high unemployment in a consumer-driven economy, and ridiculous spending that they are showing has no signs of slowing, but accelerating, everyone in the country should be expecting some form of collapse if they weren't dependent upon the mainstream media to tell them what to think. And the media is not telling them because it seems that there's another agenda. As all these circumstances are playing out, it seems that the powers that be are moving with a different narrative. Which brings me to my next point. Let's talk about what's brewing geopolitically. The mainstream media is going heavy about the biggest cyber attack in history, and they are making claims that it was Russia that did the hack.
But this week will also be remembered as the one when America started to come to terms with the breadth and depth of what some experts are calling one of the biggest cyber attacks of all time. Hackers used software made by SolarWinds, a Texas-based IT firm, to breach the networks of government agencies like the state and treasury departments and big corporations like Microsoft. According to the New York Times, the majority of Fortune 500 companies use SolarWinds tech in their own cybersecurity efforts, meaning that these hackers almost certainly gained access to the computer systems of many household name companies. We just don't know which ones right now. Experts in the field are pointing to Russia as the culprit behind the attack, although the country says that it had nothing to do with it. This thing is huge and sprawling and invisible. The consequences could be wide-ranging and quite scary. CNBC's Eamon Javers explained it to us.
The news first emerged last week when the cybersecurity firm FireEye said that it had been the victim of a very specific targeted hack by what it called a nation-state actor. FireEye taking some heat for being a cybersecurity company that in turn was actually vulnerable to a cyber strike, but they went public first with the details of this hack. Then we learned on Sunday that this hack had actually hit a lot of government agencies as well, including Treasury and the Commerce Department. And as the week went on, cybersecurity experts' jaws continued to drop as they found out the extent and the breadth of this striking cybersecurity attack that has now dated back months. Experts now believe that the Russians were behind it, and they initially got into these systems as far back as March of 2020. That means that the Russians have been inside some of the most sensitive government computer systems for months, inside some of the most sensitive corporate computer systems for months. And the fear is that even if experts are able to find this malware, stamp it out, and eliminate it from all the servers, the Russians will have had enough time now to create their own secret backdoors back in. The expectation here is that the Russians won't do something provocative. They have enormous access now to American systems. They could do extraordinarily damaging things in the physical world, in the financial world, to the U.S. economy. The expectation, though, is that they won't do that because they don't want to start a war. They won't do anything that's at such a high level that it'll provoke an immediate U.S. military response.
Russia, of course, is denying this, and now we are hearing that China could have been involved with it as well. But it seems that there is no real concrete evidence. It's funny, because in the television series Mr. Robot, this is exactly how the collapse happened in the show, except that it wasn't blamed on Russia, but it was actually Chinese interests and the hacker group who were the main characters. Based on what the news is saying, though, what you can gather is that it's evident from their narrative that Russia is against the United States and beginning to wage a cyber war against us. Now, the thing that is important to understand is that what they are alluding to in this news that they are not saying outright is that basically Russia has a one-up advantage against the United States, and no one knows what they're going to do with it. So any trouble or chaos that happens in the United States could be blamed on this hack. And of course, the masses will believe it. They could easily allude to Russia did something to try to keep Donald Trump in office. I mean, anything. When the economic collapse happens, is now likely to be blamed on outside nation states like Russia and or China, rather than the incompetence and high spending and poor financial management of the United States. But it's still too early to be seen. But when you see that they are claiming this to be the largest cyber attack in the history of the United States, it's not something that we should just dismiss. The last time the United States was attacked was September 11th, and not too long after that, we were at war. This is something we should all monitor, because no matter what, World War III will occur. Even Joe Biden on Tuesday said that the huge cyber attack cannot go unanswered.
We can't let this go unanswered. That means making clear and publicly who is responsible for the attack and taking meaningful steps to hold them in account. Initial indications, including from Secretary Pompeo, Secretary of State, and Attorney General William Barr, suggests that Russia is responsible for this breach.
It's just a matter of what will be the true catalyst or major spark that will put things in motion. But again, this is not the only thing happening in the world. The mainstream media, whose job it is to keep the public informed, is not fully informing the masses that the United States Navy sent their first guided missile-class submarine to the Persian Gulf in 8 years in an apparent threat to Iran. The nuclear-powered USS Georgia comes within striking distance of Iran with its 154 Tomahawk missiles in dry dock for SEALs. In the Navy Times, it was reported that earlier this month, the United States military flew 2 bomber aircrafts to the Middle East in a mission that U.S. officials described as a message of deterrence to Iran. And this is not the United States alone. The Jerusalem Post reports that IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, IDF submarine crosses the Suez Canal as a direct message to Iran. According to Arab intelligence that confirmed the reports, the submarine passed the Red Sea and was making its way towards the Persian Gulf. We should not forget that it was recently confirmed that Israel assassinated one of Iran's nuclear scientists, and Iran has pledged a response and has given multiple threats. So we have the United States blaming Russia for the biggest cyber attack in the United States history, and then the United States and Israeli Navy sending nuclear submarines to threaten Iran. Is that it? No. Over in the South China Sea a few days ago, Taiwan prepared warships to stand guard in response to Beijing's aircraft carriers traveling close to the island. Reuters reports the group of aircraft carriers sailed through the sensitive Taiwan Strait on Sunday, one day after a U.S. warship passed through the waterway. 6 warships and 8 Air Force aircraft were deployed to monitor the Chinese vessels. Russia and China on Tuesday, December 22nd, flew their bombers in a joint patrol over the Pacific. The Russian military said that a pair of its Tu-95 strategic bombers and 4 Chinese H-6K bombers flew over the Sea of Japan and the East China Sea. The Russian Defense Military said in a statement that the joint mission was intended to develop and deepen the comprehensive Russia-China partnership, further increase the level of cooperation between the two militaries, expand their ability for joint action, and strengthen strategic stability. Please know, there are fears that World War III with China could explode ahead of Joe Biden's inauguration. There are a lot of rumors of war going on right now, and the possibility for conflict is nearing. None of it should be ignored. None of the conflicts that were potential disruptors in the beginning of 2020 were solved or weakened. In fact, things have intensified and gotten worse around the world. 2021, which seems to be labeled as a year of transition, has the potential to be a major disruptive year, and everyone should be moving with a level of expectation for problems and be prepared as best they can for the consequences if you are forced out of your job, can't go into stores, or move about anywhere in the world if you are not vaccinated. If we have economic collapse that happens in 2021, regardless of what it is blamed on, if you're not prepared to weather this storm, you need to get ready. If you're not ready for the consequences of world war, you need to get ready. There are too many people moving about with these false expectations like the world is on its way of getting better, not worse. But that's not reality. They will destroy the world and crumble its structures, and from the ashes of this world, they will try to build their better one.
Everything they've built will fall! And from the ashes of their world, we'll build a better one!
We are just watching it unfold. Now please try to understand. Since the beginning of this ministry, it has always been moved and led through the purpose of preparing the bride for our true Messiah, Yahshua HaMashiach, and then exposing the world that is preparing for the false Messiah, the Antichrist, that they are preparing to bring on the world stage. I do not bring these topics up to place a spirit of fear on you. Do not have fear. This information is for eyes to be awakened, not to start some revolution. It's for people to stay focused and not fed by the distractions that the world is feeding us. It's for those that don't fully understand what is upon us to have more urgency to get their lives right with our Father in heaven and start a relationship with Yahshua. It's to help you get your mental together so that the world doesn't catch you off guard and force you into submission without giving you a chance to think. I just want you to be prepared for the world that is in front of us. Yahshua told us about these end times in Matthew chapter 24, verses 12 and 13. And because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. But he who endures to the end shall be saved. You see, we must endure to the end, and being prepared spiritually as well as mentally is highly important. You can have all the faith in the world, but if you still are trusting and relying on this world system and do not recognize their schemes and devices, you can be led astray. We are approaching the time where Yahshua prophesied in Matthew chapter 24, verse 21. For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been since the beginning of the world until this time, no, nor ever shall be. I could say a whole bunch of words to try to press upon you the urgency of these times, and I do in many other videos. But in my last video of 2020, let me close this with the words from the Apostle Paul in his second epistle to the Thessalonians in chapter 2. For the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. Only he who now restrains will do so until he is taken out of the way. And then the lawless one will be revealed, whom Yahweh will consume with the breath of his mouth and destroy with the brightness of his coming. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this reason, Elohim will send them strong delusion, that they should believe the lie, that they all may be condemned, who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. But we are bound to give thanks to Elohim always for you, brethren beloved by Yahweh, because Elohim from the beginning chose you for salvation through sanctification by the Spirit and belief in the truth, to which he called you by our gospel, for the obtaining of the glory of our Adonai, Yahshua HaMashiach. Therefore, brethren, stand fast and hold the traditions which you were taught, whether by word or our epistle. May our Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach himself, and our Elohim and Father, who has loved us and given us everlasting consolation and good hope by grace, comfort your hearts and establish you in every good word and work. Hallelujah. Be comforted by these words and walk in the confidence and grace of our Master, for he is on the way. Be safe and be blessed. Okay, thanks again for watching. If this has blessed you, please make sure to like it and share it with others. We need to sound the alarms and wake up as many as we can. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. Elohim willing, I upload every Friday. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on my website, truthunedited.com. As always, I'd like to thank all who donate and contribute to this ministry. Please know that your donations are truly a blessing to this ministry and helps very much. Thank you for your love and support and letting our Father use you. You're truly a blessing, and I really appreciate your support. Be blessed. Okay, thanks again everyone for watching. Be watchful and ready in 2021, and never take your eyes off of our Savior. I love you all.